Hi, I am Julia from Newborn Mothers. Welcome to this recording of the webinar we ran this morning on baby brain. I stuffed up. I was using new technology and I did not record the webinar. I was really disappointed. We had hundreds of people registered, and I know most of you were depending on the recording because of the time of day or children or other work. So I got annoyed with myself, and then I brushed myself off, ate my lunch, and here I am doing the webinar again to myself so that I can record it for you, because I really didn't want you to miss out on this very special and exciting content. So here's what you'll learn. We will be looking at ways to support newborn mothers with brain science and ancient traditions. We'll be introducing a radical new feminine paradigm that I'm sure will change the way that you see and know motherhood. And this new paradigm will enable you to create satisfying and sustainable career doing your heart's work. And the way we do this is not by having all the answers ourselves, not by being experts or rescuing mothers, but by elevating our clients above experts and advice altogether and helping her to tune in with her body, her heart, her intuition, her baby. And I'll also share a bit at the end on how to become a postnatal doula, or how to go deeper with postnatal support in your existing work. So, if you do think that this is a career for you or something you want to do as professional development, then I will tell you a little bit at the end about my course, which is about the ways that we can support hormonal and neurobiological changes that are required in a woman's brain for peace and joy in motherhood. So this is me cooking food. I love cooking. I have a recipe book, and this photo is actually taken for my recipe book, Nourishing Newborn Mothers. I am on a mission to create a renaissance in the way we care for newborn mothers, but I really can't do this on my own. So I actually started studying and started on my vocation as a postpartum doula before I had my own children. I think most of you will be able to relate to this, that this kind of work really is a calling. It's not something that you do because it's, convenient. It's something that you really feel like you have no choice about. So I found this path before I had my own children. I studied like mad, and then I had my own baby, and I realized that everything I had studied so far made no difference. It really didn't help me. I did not at all find peace and joy in my first transition to motherhood. I've since had two more babies, and I certainly have had peaceful and joyful experiences, because now I know that that the sort of traditional doula trainings that I was studying really didn't go beyond basic baby care, maybe some simple breastfeeding knowledge, parenting advice, health and safety. They really did not prepare me as a professional or as a mother for understanding the deep internal changes that come along with motherhood. So I was really not satisfied with the doula trainings I did, and I kept searching for the answers. And what happened was I continued on my path learning Ayurveda, which is what I was studying before I had my baby. So I kept looking at Ayurveda for postpartum care, and then from there expanded into looking at traditional medicine in many different cultures. And I found there are really similar caring practices in many hundreds of different cultures around the world. Then the really exciting leap came when I learned about baby brain. And that is what I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit today. That is what created this completely new approach when I really understood what the purpose of the traditional practices was, what was going on inside my own brain, inside the brains of my clients, how we can find peace and joy in amongst it. This is a beautiful client of mine. Her name was Tanya, and she said, thank you, Julia, for your support. You really allowed me to completely indulge in myself and wrap myself up in oxytocin and newborn snuggles. I can honestly say that her first 6 weeks were the best 6 weeks of my life. I wish that every new mother had the love and support that I received. Tanya was an absolute pleasure to work with. This was quite a few years ago now. She's gone on to have another baby. She's moved to another state. But this experience of her saying the first 6 weeks were the best 6 weeks of her life, that's not something you commonly hear newborn mothers saying in our culture. And yet amongst my clients and amongst the clients of the doulas and midwives and other professionals that I've trained, this becomes the norm. And I really feel like this is the change that needs to happen. Now I am looking for birth professionals who feel as passionately about changing the way newborn mothers experience the transition to motherhood as I do. So what happened was I began implementing this new approach with my clients, and they began to experience these transformations from stress and exhaustion and into peace and joy instead. I had lots of clients, many of them are paying me lots of money, $3,000 to $5,000. And I really realized that this was a message I needed to share with a wider audience. So I decided to scale down working directly with newborn mothers. I still take on a handful of clients, but most of my time now is spent sharing my knowledge and what I've learned with other birth professionals so that together we can bring this peace and joy to many, many more mothers all over the world. So this is one of the professionals that I have trained. She's actually Jessica started out as a newborn photographer, and she felt like she was taking all these photos. Women were paying her thousands of dollars to make them look good on social media, on the outside, to have this facade of happiness and peace and joy. But what she saw in her sessions was the reality of the situation was very different, and it was really heartbreaking for her to be in that situation with that huge divide between what the rest of the world was seeing and what was really going on for that family in their homes. So she began to study postpartum with me. And this is what she said: I feel like your training goes deeper. It connects postpartum to your brain, your body, and hormones and tradition. It's extremely well rounded, and I feel that it helps me sell my work to clients more effectively. And here is why the conventional answers don't make sense, and why the approach that we currently use in our society for motherhood is not helping mothers or their families find peace and joy during that transition. It is your beautiful new brain. Now, all your life, all my life, we were prepared for masculine jobs in a masculine world. And then we became mothers, and the position description changed radically and overnight. Welcome to the world of baby brain. Baby brain may come across as an insult because we live in this very masculine, left-brained world. But when you really understand what baby brain is and embrace that transformation, it can be a really powerful and beautiful thing. So when I talk about baby brain, I'm really trying to reclaim that word and reclaim our power as women. And what I'm talking about is really the hormonal changes that happen in your brain when you have a baby in optimum conditions, okay, when you are cared for and supported in the right ways, which sadly doesn't often happen. If we consider baby brain to be, a beautiful thing and the way it's nature's grand plan really for happiness, then we can see that actually it's the best thing a mother can get. So what actually is baby brain? A couple of things just to kind of get you thinking about this and what it means. When a woman has a baby, it actually alters the size and structure of the brain regions involved in understanding the thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and intentions of others. You know, your brain, when you have a baby, actually decreases in size by 7%. 7%. It actually gets smaller. I think that's mind-blowing. And of course, no wonder you can feel like you're all at sea, like your whole world is falling apart and you feel very vulnerable and confused. And maybe don't feel very valuable because we don't currently really respect and value these more feminine ways of doing things. Another thing that happens is we have decreased cognitive function. So some things like short-term memory take a little bit of a hit. You become forgetful, you lose your car keys, you are not so good at maths anymore. Again, all totally normal. The next thing that happens as well is increased empathy and compassion. And this is when you can start to understand what the point is. Why is this happening? And that is because our brains are preparing us for the role of motherhood in the most perfect way. And when we try and approach, and we're talking about this a lot today, when we try and approach a feminine problem with a masculine solution, it does not work. So let's have a look at some of those changes. The short-term changes, there are really two categories of short-term changes. Again, I am simplifying things a little bit. I am not a neuroscientist. So often I will make it a little bit more black and white than it actually is in real life. But two of the big things that happen are increase in brain plasticity and an increase in oxytocin. Now, your plasticity goes up and down throughout your life. Once upon a time, scientists thought that your brain was fixed, it could not change. Now we know that it can always change and that there are actually both environmental and biological triggers for plasticity. So the internal triggers for plasticity are related to stages of your life. And so your plasticity increases, for example, when you are a baby up to about the age of 3. And then your plasticity increases again when you are a teenager. And then your plasticity increases again when you become a mother. And again when you go through menopause. And if you think about what these stages of life all have in common, they are about learning new skills and about stepping into new roles. And the plasticity is there to guide your brain development and prepare you for the next stage of your life. That's also why so many traditional cultures have rites of passage and initiation ceremonies, rituals around these different times of life. Because acknowledging this confusion, this overwhelm, goes a long way to being able to respect the role, the job, the work that we are preparing ourselves to do. So that's just one small example of how traditional cultures, without obviously being able to do brain scans, have so many beautiful things in place that support a lot of what's going on internally. A couple more things about plasticity. You need plasticity also increases from environmental reasons, as I mentioned, and a couple of examples of that are fasting and high intensity exercise. And again, if you think these would be in a traditional human setting in terms of evolution, these would be times when there were maybe wars, famines, extreme weather patterns, relocating to new environments, times when you would have needed to learn new skills very quickly. So fasting and intense exercise increase your brain plasticity. So what do we not want to do with new mums? We don't want a mother fasting or doing intense exercise. That's why in so many cultures around the world, the emphasis for newborn mothers is about grounding, stability, routine, rituals, so that we can not add to this feeling of overwhelm and confusion, but instead really be supporting her transition with this kind of more structure. Okay, change number 2. The short-term change that is another real biggie is oxytocin. Now you may know oxytocin as that sweet, gooey, lovey feeling when you look into your baby's eyes. Listening to your favourite music will increase your oxytocin. Having a massage or a bath will increase your oxytocin. Oxytocin is related to bonding and love and empathy, which is why when you're pregnant and you become a mother, you burst into tears when you watch the news, and maybe your tolerance for like scary movies goes down. And I'm sure if you have had children yourself, you will have noticed some of these changes. And it is a very real thing that happens in your brain. But there are good sides of oxytocin, but there are many good sides. There are also some dark sides, but we do go into that in a little bit more detail in the collective as well. But the good sides we'll look at today are oxytocin will make you feel more relaxed, which is obviously really valuable for mothers. Another big one is it will make you more tolerant of monotony and boredom. So when you're changing your baby's nappy for the 100th time that day, walking up and down the hallway, burping the baby and changing their nappy again, you will feel less frustrated by that situation. You'll be more able to surrender and to embrace that stage. Oxytocin will also increase your breast milk supply. It's related to the letdown reflex. So if you're in a stressed situation, then your milk will not let down. It is also, oxytocin is responsible for making you better at reading nonverbal cues, which, as you can imagine, if you've got a new little human joining your household who is entirely dependent on you for everything and cannot communicate in words, then being able to read nonverbal cues is an extremely important skill. So when we can start to see the positives of baby brain and start approaching these feminine challenges of motherhood with feminine responses and feminine solutions, it can completely transform the experience. So long-term changes. So your brain's rewired for more oxytocin forever. So because of that brain plasticity, the brain plasticity will settle down over time. The oxytocin will settle down a little bit over time, but generally your oxytocin receptors will actually be bigger, and the oxytocin pathways in your brain will actually be stronger forever. Forever. These changes can be for the rest of your life. Often people ask me, what is postpartum? And I say, it just means after you've had a baby. It's the rest of your life. You will always be postpartum. So some of these long-term changes were discovered by a scientist whose name escapes me, and she studied rats. She was a brain scientist, and she found a difference between rats who had had children, mother rats, and female rats who had not had children. And she put them through what's called an enrichment program. And the idea was that as the rats go through an obstacle course, they would, be challenged and tested and learn new things. And then she would look at their brains before the enrichment program and after the enrichment program. And what she found was very strange. The virgin rats, she called them, the female rats who had not had babies, their brains changed drastically. Their brains were enriched, okay? They had stronger pathways, there was more going on. But when she looked at the mother rat's brains, there was no change. The before brains looked very similar to the after brains. As a female scientist and a feminist, she was shocked and horrified, and she must have been thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to end my career if I'm finding out that mothers are stupid and we can't learn. Until what she realized is that actually the mother rat's brains were already enriched. So when she then started to compare the mother brains to the brains of the virgin rats after the enrichment program, they were the same. The mother's brains were already enriched, and motherhood is an enrichment program. So some of the new skills that we get that stick with us are mothers are better at assessing risk, better at multitasking, and you know that when your husband can't remember all the millions of things that you've got to do for your kids every week, and you can. Mothers are braver. Mothers are more efficient. I know this. When I have an hour to work, now that I'm a mother, I get so much more done. Mothers have better perception. You probably noticed when you were pregnant, if you've had children, that your sense of smell increases. And if actually many of your senses increase and stay increased even after the baby's born and forevermore. Your motivation increases. Mothers actually become very driven and ambitious, which can feel very conflicting when our society is telling you should just give up your whole life, sacrifice your career, stay at home and get all of your fulfillment from only your children. It's very unrealistic for many women who feel perhaps more ambitious than they ever have in their entire lives before, and they can feel very frustrated and cooped up. So that's a few of the long-term changes. So I want you to reflect maybe on how baby brain feels for you. Maybe you've had your own children and you can relate some of this to your own postpartum experience. Or maybe you have not had children, but you've worked with new mothers and you've seen them go through this period of rapid change and growth, and the difference inside them from before and after having children. So just reflect on that, and then I'm also going to tell you about the way that different hormones work together. So, of course, I am presenting you with a very simplified picture of hormones. Oxytocin works in a very complex team, including testosterone, prolactin, cortisol, and to be honest, we really don't even know all of the answers yet. Brain science is really in its infancy, and we're learning new things all the time. But what is important for today is that you understand that oxytocin is really in sort of the category of peace and joy hormones, which is inversely related to stress hormones, including cortisol, testosterone, adrenaline, noradrenaline. And basically what you need to know is that fear and stress, it's like scales, fear and stress on one side, peace and joy on the other. When one goes up, the other goes down. When the other goes down, the other goes up. They are inversely related. So what happens is sometimes, even though your brain is trying to make this change, our modern world can be sabotaging, nature's grand plan. So if you are feeling stressed because you are left alone with your children, like socially isolated, a lack of support and help, maybe you've had a traumatic birth experience. Maybe you've been expected to take on too much shopping, cooking, cleaning immediately after giving birth. Maybe you feel pressured to get back to work. Maybe you feel pressured to lose the baby weight. All of these social expectations can cause stress, and stress will reduce your oxytocin levels. The other thing that reduces your oxytocin levels, which is really important to know, is cognition, the thinking part of your brain. So that's why we're not so good at maths and things anymore. I'm certainly not. But doing things like those more intellectual activities actually decreases oxytocin, which is why we cannot find the answers in books. So, a few examples, things that can cause stress might be social isolation, too many rules, too many visitors, too many responsibilities like shopping, cooking, and cleaning. But on the other hand, if we can do some things to increase oxytocin, like laughter, warmth, touch, massage, love, having a bath, listening to music, singing, we can maybe start to balance up those scales again. What happens if things don't go to plan? When mothers don't get this rush of oxytocin, they can become competitive, controlling, judgmental, and independent. Just as a start, there are many other things that can happen as well. Women without high levels of oxytocin can become very difficult people to be around. And you've probably seen this and experienced this yourself. I actually experienced this myself in my first transition to motherhood. I became very controlling. I didn't so much get into the other things. I guess that's just up to personality, but I certainly became very controlling. And OCD is actually very common, postpartum mood disorder that often gets overlooked. So you may have experienced some of these yourself, but you may also have walked into a mum's group or had a client who you just can't seem to get through to. And a lot of the times it's because of this low oxytocin. And maybe you've noticed that actually this seems to be the norm in our culture. Perhaps actually most mothers are experiencing a level of stress and pressure that means that their oxytocin responses are not functioning, in the way that's going to bring them peace and joy in motherhood. And this is a real tragedy. 80% of new mothers report feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. 2/3 of Australian mothers don't meet their own breastfeeding goals. And this is really heartbreaking because these are mothers who want to breastfeed. It's not like someone's telling them to or they're being forced to. They want to breastfeed and they cannot because they don't have the skills and the tools and the support, most of all, the support that they need. And real tragedy is that the leading cause of maternal death in Australia, United States, Canada, and New Zealand is suicide. So we are just managing to keep people alive physically and not taking care of this emotional, spiritual growth that happens and really facilitating that change and that rite of passage in our culture. If you type postpartum into Google, the top results will include psychosis, hemorrhage, and depression. It's really not a pretty picture. But when we can learn how to support mothers with these oxytocin boosting techniques and the traditional cultural practices, it can be a very different experience. This is Rebecca. And she was in one of my group programs called Newborn Mothers Sanctuary. And she said, "My journey to becoming a mother has become me. Nothing else matters anymore. I feel so free and light. Thank you to Julia and Newborn Mothers Sanctuary for allowing me to express the way I feel with so many amazing mothers. Imagine if every child born into the world could be loved the way we love our children. Imagine the type of world we could live in." And this is what motivates me to do this work every day. And I truly believe that together we can change the world. This will make a difference not only in the lives of mothers, but mothers are the foundation of our entire culture and society. And for many generations, we can make a big difference with this work. And the good news is you don't need to know everything or do everything. So one of the biggest barriers I hear to women stepping into their postpartum careers is that they don't know enough. They feel they are not experienced enough. They don't have all the answers. But the good news is to achieve these kinds of results, you don't need to know everything. There have never been more books, videos, research, workshops on motherhood. We are suffering from information overload and we can't figure out our babies and we still are not enjoying ourselves. This is because mothering is not a masculine activity and does not have a masculine solution. So you will not find what you need in information and books, and you will not be able to find a magic pill or a one-size-fits-all solution, and rescuing your clients is a really bad idea. Instead, you want to support your clients to be their own heroes of their own motherhood adventure. And if you can increase oxytocin and support her throughout this change and support her with the ancient traditions and also with embracing her new brain, then you truly can change the world without needing all of the answers. So the way that I teach people to work is really about elevating women above the advice and expert paradigm. And I feel like this is really the missing piece, the absolute critical thing that our culture is doing wrong. This is Rachel. She's in Melbourne, and she says, "All I can say is I'm sitting in a heart explosion, mind explosion, full yes to this work. I'm definitely happy to come under your wing as a mentor and guide. Thank you for being the amazing, inspiring woman that you are." Rachel's been an absolute pleasure to work with. We have the most beautiful group of women in Newborn Mothers Collective, and it is my absolute joy and privilege to be in that group and working with these women every day. So if you're feeling like you're interested in taking the next step and you're perhaps curious about what I have to offer, I'm just going to share a little bit about my work now in the course. Does it break your heart when you see newborn mothers suffering, but you don't have the tools to guide them to peace and joy yet? Do you work with clients right up until the birth and then feel like you're walking out on them when they need you the most? Are you stuck with the same package and the same price as other professionals in your area and you can't see how to stand out in the crowd? And most of all, is this your life's work too? We've talked about this already. This is a deep calling. This is not something you can turn your back on, and getting an office job when you feel like this is your life's work can be really devastating. I know you serve newborn mothers with deep love and devotion, and it breaks your heart to see them struggling in a broken system without support. So I want to ask you a question. How would it feel if you could discover how to weave these traditional ways of nurturing and support into your care and help transform the experience of newborn mothers and their families? I would like to invite you to join the postpartum renaissance. Our culture values more masculine ways of learning, including analytical thought and problem solving. But this has led to the commodification of motherhood and sabotaged mothers by placing the knowledge outside of us and in the hands of experts. It is time to change the paradigm. Newborn Mothers Collective will change the way that you work with newborn mothers and pregnant women, and you will get the tools and the skills that you are looking for so that you can elevate women above the experts and advice. You will learn how to show mothers how to make the first 6 weeks after childbirth the best 6 weeks of their lives. Together, I really love you to join us in this postpartum renaissance. And I'd love to take you under my wing and teach you everything I know so that together we can reach and serve more newborn mothers more deeply. Introducing Newborn Mothers Collective. This is an online course for birth professionals who believe that birth is about making mums too. Now, you and I know better than anyone that there's never been more books, videos, research on parenting and babies, and this is not the answer. Newborn Mothers Collective is different. In this world-class professional development resource, you will receive 12 continuing professional education points from the Australian College of Midwives. You can also get professional education points as a physiotherapist, as a yoga teacher, as a hypnobirthing practitioner, and more. So if you need professional development points, let us know and we can find out if they're available for your industry. You will also get a printable certificate and a digital graphic for your website to show that you are certified. You'll get a listing on Newborn Mothers Postpartum Professionals Worldwide Directory. So on my website, we have people all over the world looking up trained postpartum professionals in their local area. You will get lifetime access to the 6 modules delivered weekly in a private membership site. So you will get some weekly email reminders just to help you stay on track. But you can take as long or as short as you like to do this course. Some people do it literally in a weekend, and some people take a year or 2 years before they graduate, and that's totally up to you. I know that you're busy and life sometimes gets in the way. So you will also get lifetime access to our private Facebook group, and in the Facebook community, it's a beautiful place. You can ask me questions and also get peer support as you implement what you learn with your clients. And one thing which I didn't add to this slide, and it's totally brand new, is you can also now get insurance as a postpartum doula. So if you are not qualified in any other way, you can do this course and call yourself a postpartum doula in Australia and get insurance. And if you are already qualified, you can do it for professional development points as well. So this course is approved by the Australian College of Midwives, and the curriculum includes 6 modules. The first module is Embracing Baby Brain, Oxytocin, Why Love Conquers All. So that goes into more detail on what we talked about today. We learn really the nuts and bolts of how to actually increase oxytocin, even if childbirth doesn't go smoothly, even if there are already breastfeeding problems and other stresses in the mother's life. How do we get her back on track with oxytocin boosting self-care plans? Module 2 is about communication and why silence is golden. This is all about how to teach mothering skills the baby brain way, and how to be a compassionate communicator and in a way that really elevates mothers above advice and experts. Module 2, Birth is about making mums too. This is about traditional cultures, how they celebrate and acknowledge the birth of a mother, looking at things like rites of passage, and different healing modalities, and really tying that in with what you now know about baby brain, how these social structures actually support and increase oxytocin and help mothers through. So even though obviously back in the day, not that long ago, we knew nothing about inside of brains. We've only been able to do brain scans very recently. And yet there are so many of these ancient traditions that are so interesting and relevant, and you can see exactly why they work. Module 4, Ayurveda, the ancient art and science of living. So this is a foundational module on Ayurveda. You will learn about the Ayurvedic elements and the doshas, which are the different metabolic constitutions. And we'll have a look at how Ayurveda can support both pregnancy and postpartum. We'll go deeper into Ayurveda by looking at Module 5 into advanced postpartum nutrition. So you'll learn about Ayurvedic nutrition, including taste, qualities of food, and food combining. You will learn how to create your own recipes by adapting any recipe for postpartum rejuvenation. And also we'll talk again a little bit about the nuts and bolts of how to actually cook for clients, whether you're going to do it in your kitchen or in theirs. And Module 6, Introduction to Ayurvedic Bodywork for newborn mothers. This is self-massage. How do you teach mothers to do self-massage, which is very common Ayurvedic practice. Baby massage, and also post-pregnancy belly binding, which is getting more and more popular as I've been working in this field for the last decade. As a part of the live round, which we are starting September 13th, you will get all of these pre-recorded modules as usual, but you will also get a weekly Q&A call, which is a chance for you to connect directly with me and also with the other beautiful women in the course. Plus, we will be doing a bunch of bonus live webinars only for people in the live round, including one on teaching to breastfeed the baby brain way. We'll be looking at communication skills and scope and boundaries. We also have some business bonuses in there, and these webinars will be guided by you. So if there's, as you're going through the course, we'll see what the FAQ are, what topics we need to go into a little bit more depth with, and those webinars will be created especially for the live round exclusively. How does it work? Each of the lessons is presented in video, audio, text, and with worksheets. So you can download everything as a podcast and listen in your car while you walk the dog, watch the videos when you're folding laundry. You can take it offline. You can access it on your computer, tablet, or any device, including your phone. And there are also some tactile activities in there, like cooking and massage, which you can practice and experience for yourself and for your family. And really the joy of an online course is that it's in your own time, in the comfort of your own home, and you don't need a babysitter or a bra. So now you know why I love online courses. It's a really great way for busy women and mothers to be able to do this kind of upskilling and professional development without having to find a babysitter and put some makeup on and get in the car. Now, there is a 7-day, 100% satisfaction money-back guarantee. I work with birth professionals who are deeply committed to serving newborn mothers and prepared to put in the effort required to pursue their life's work. I am so sure that you are going to love Newborn Mothers Collective, but if after 7 days you are not satisfied, then I'm happy to refund your money. The refunds must be requested within 7 days to be eligible, and you will be required to complete a feedback survey to demonstrate why you didn't receive the value that you expected. So it's not a refund for change of mind. I expect you to make a thorough decision, but it is a refund for satisfaction. So if the course is not what you thought it was going to be, if you don't learn amazing things, if you don't feel it's going to change your work and even change your personal life, then that's how much I stand by my work. I will give your money back. This is Belinda. She's in Newborn Mothers Collective, and she says, I'm loving the course so far. So much makes sense now looking back on my own postpartum periods and why I felt the way I did, wanted certain things, etc. So much emphasis is placed on birth. There is more knowledge of doulas being for birth and not so much for postpartum, which I'm starting to see as almost more needed if you have to make a choice. Now, if you join now, you will save $100. The price will be going up by $100 in just a few weeks' time, in preparation for starting the new round. But if you join now, I will grandmother you in. You will be able to pay the normal price for the course, and I will grandmother you into the live round as well. So it's a really good time to join. You can also get a little bit of a head start on the live round if you think you're going to take more than 6 weeks to get through the content. If you join now, that gives you an extra few weeks ahead of time to get started before we start doing the Q&A calls. Your investment, you can pay up front for 497 Australian dollars. Plus, if you are an Australian resident, you need to pay 10% GST. If you prefer to pay in US dollars, it's $419. Now, this price is only here for a few more weeks. It goes up on the 30th of August. But the payment plan is actually going away tomorrow. The payment plan will expire in less than 48 hours from now. And it is, again, more than $100 off what the full price payment plan will be. And the full price payment plan is not available for a few weeks anyway. So if you want to join now, the payment plan will expire tomorrow. It's 275 Australian dollars plus GST, and they are monthly payments. So a lot of my students have never done an e-course before mine. That's totally okay. It's really easy, and I am going to just spell it out for you to make sure you understand exactly what to expect and what happens when you join. So when you click through on the link below, you will enter your details and click Complete Purchase. First, you will get access to your login information in an email, so you can save that for later, and you can start at any time. You can start this week, you can start next year. It's completely your choice. You will also get access to all of the modules at once, so that if you like to binge watch like me, you can. So if you want to put a weekend aside, you could maybe go and stay with a friend or a hotel, or just kick the kids out for a couple of days, and you can do the whole course in 2 days if you want to. It's about 12 hours of content, not including all of the activities and things. But I have had people complete it within a week. So if you do want to get through it really fast, you can, and if you want to save it for later, you can totally do that too. Then you do also get lifetime access. So this gives you a little peek inside the membership space. You can see there's videos, there's podcasts available to download. You'll get transcripts of all the lessons. There's a workbook that's hundreds of pages long if you prefer to have things printed. And you also get lifetime access to the Facebook group, which means you can jump in and ask questions anytime, whether it's as you are learning new skills or as you are implementing with clients. Once you do start using this work in your actual work with clients, then you can just jump back in and ask us questions at any time. It's really a beautiful space. I feel very privileged to be able to work with these women every day. Later on, whenever you're ready, next week or next year, then you can complete the graduation quiz to show that you've done the work. And as long as you, you get a certain percentage and you can show us that you have actually completed the course, you will get your printable certificate, which you can use for your professional development points. You will get a little digital graphic there, that little stamp that you can put on your website showing that you are certified. And you'll also get a listing in our directory as well, the online directory that is worldwide. So that's everything. That's how it all works. But the thing I want to ask you most of all is, if not now, when? I truly believe that you have all of the answers inside you, and that all mothers have all of the answers inside themselves, and that that you don't need to wait until you've had more experience. You don't need to wait until you are good enough, pretty enough, experienced enough, until someone tells you that you're, qualified enough. You can start right now. And whilst there are so many women suffering, I feel it's almost our duty to start doing this work and supporting mothers through this transformation. And really, I believe that together we can change the world. Your investment, again, it's $497 up front. That early bird price will end on the 30th of August, or it's $275 per month for 2 payments as a payment plan, that price will expire tomorrow. So jump on it. I really look forward to having you in Newborn Mothers Collective. Just let me know below if you have any last minute questions, and my team and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching this webinar. It is a topic I'm so passionate about, and yeah, I really appreciate your time in helping to learn more about this really important season of life, and sharing what we are learning with newborn mothers all over the world. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.